But let's begin with that breaking news. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have released emails that they say shows Donald Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activity. That is something the president has always denied. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian is joining us now to talk more about this. So, Nicole, break down this email traffic between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and what does it say?
Well, so Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released 3 sets of emails. Keep in mind the committee had received thousands of documents from the Epstein estate, and so they have pulled out these emails that were uncovered, basically showing several exchanges between Jeffrey Epstein and others, including Ghislaine Maxwell, about President Trump. Obviously, he was not president at the time that these emails were written, but in one exchange, for instance, this was an exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his associate, where he basically in 2011 writes that Donald Trump, quote, spent hours at my house with an alleged victim of sex trafficking. It also, the email refers to Trump as, quote, a dog that hasn't barked. There was a separate email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and an author by the name of Michael Wolff. That took place in 2019, where Epstein shares that Donald Trump, quote, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine, referencing Ghislaine Maxwell, to stop it. And then there was a third email exchange involving Epstein and Wolff, where basically it seems that Trump was about to be interviewed by a network. And so the email exchange was about crafting an answer should Trump be asked about Jeffrey Epstein. So what Democrats on the House Oversight Committee allege is that the president may have known more about Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged illegal behavior. However, the president, as you pointed out, has denied any wrongdoing. He has not yet responded to this release. We did try to ask Speaker Mike Johnson about it a short time ago, but he too did not respond to our questions.
All right, Nicole, stand by. I want to bring in CBS News White House correspondent Nancy Cordes to join the conversation. Nancy, I guess we haven't yet heard anything from the White House, but the president has always denied all the allegations surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, even that drawing that was released by the Wall Street Journal. He denied that he even drew that and he wrote that message. So what are we expecting to get a statement, something from Caroline Leavitt or the president in the next couple of hours?
Well, Caroline Leavitt is scheduled to hold a briefing in a couple of hours. So if there is no statement, if there's no response to the questions we've asked already, she will probably be asked about it when she briefs at 1 p.m. Eastern. But President Trump has always maintained, as you point out, that he didn't know anything about Epstein's criminal behavior, that he actually had a falling out and ended their friendship back in the 2000s because he was frustrated that Epstein kept hiring away so many young employees from Mar-a-Lago. As far as these emails are concerned and the Epstein files writ large, President Trump has argued that it is some kind of Democrat witch hunt to try to paint him in a negative light. But the whole reason that these emails are being released today, Vlad, it's no accident. It's because Adelita Grijalva, who was elected weeks ago in a special election in Arizona, is finally being sworn in later today, and she will be that crucial 218th signature to force a vote that would then force the Justice Department to release the Epstein files. That's what a lot of Democrats and some Republicans have been seeking. Democrats have argued that it's the whole reason that the House Speaker kept the House out of session for weeks so he would not have to swear in Grijalva. But it is happening today because the House is back to vote on reopening the government. And so that could potentially prompt a fascinating and messy new chapter in this story.
Nicole, let me ask you really quickly before we move on to talk about the shutdown. To that point, that new congresswoman that will be sworn in today, we know that vote on the continuing resolution is happening later at 5 o'clock. When do we expect the swearing in ceremony to take place?
Well, we expect Grijalva to be sworn in. Before that, she will also deliver remarks on the House floor, and she has indicated, as Nancy pointed out, that she intends to sign that discharge petition that would ultimately force a vote to call on the Justice Department to fully release those Epstein files. But I do think it's important to note all of this is not going to go down today. Like, as soon as she signs this petition, the vote is not going to happen. It is a process that could take a few more weeks, so we don't expect a vote on releasing the Epstein files likely until early next month.
All right.